Get inspired with the woman empowerment extraordinaire, LaMeel.
Hello, beautiful goddesses. This is Priestess LaMeel, and welcome to, I think this is our first episode in 2022, and we're going to be talking about relationships and how they affect our ability to manifest. It's going to be an ongoing series. This series is going to be called The Toxic Narcissist Relationship. And because I am going to be offering some special services in all of my programs, I have added a new component to help women who have suffered, been abused, or coming out of a toxic relationship, any level of toxicity within any type of relationship. But I'll have some very specific information, and I'll be teaching very specifically on a narcissistic relationship when it is a parent-child and you're the parent. You're the child, so you have a parent that's a narcissist, or you've had a spouse, lover, children that are narcissists, because those things heavily affect our ability to manifest. It heavily affects our self-esteem, our worthiness, and it goes so deep that you don't really know where it ends, right? Sometimes you can manifest surface levels, but as you try to grow, you have these deep-seated beliefs that you have taken on from these relationships, depending on how long you've been in these relationships, that you need to flip, because a belief is just simply something that you continue to think over and over again. And when you're in these negative, toxic relationships, they say the same things to you over and over again, and you start to believe them, and then they start to affect your ability to manifest your dream life, your ability to be your authentic self. And I am here to change that. And with everything that I offer, that I teach, it is because it is something I have come through and working through and sustaining within my own life. So today I'm just going to share a story, because I do realize through my research and conversations that my narcissistic relationship with my son's father is a little bit different, right? It's not as textbook, but I did have a narcissistic relationship prior to that, and there was some toxicity, if not narcissistic behavior in my upbringing. So I'm going to use this platform to share my story. I will be doing, short, I'm in here. So the first thing I want to do is share my story. And the reason is because a lot of women have expressed that they feel bad, they're embarrassed, there's some shame in being with this narcissist, being in this relationship, not being able to leave sooner, blah, blah, blah. People around you who don't understand the dynamics will also shame you, right? So a lot of women walk away when they manage to get away, or even if they're still in the relationship, with a lot of shame, because the people around them are shaming them. It is so embarrassing. And I felt the same way. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, how did I get here? Why am I still here? Why is it hard to leave? So the first thing you need to know is that narcissists are predators. And if you ask a group of diagnosed individuals with narcissistic personality disorder, they will tell you they can spot the one person or the two people in a room who is the most vulnerable, right? They intentionally seek out vulnerable women. So when I learned that, I had to look back at how was I vulnerable. So here is the realization for me, and bear with me because this is actually the first time that I have said this out loud. I literally, in journaling and meditating, got the answer because I needed the answer to move forward, right? How do I not make this happen again? How did I end up here? So I am empathic. A lot of people who end up with narcissists are empathic. And I will do a TikTok, because I will be doing, and I think I started to say that earlier before I was interrupted, short informational skits on narcissist on TikTok. That's where the bulk of that content will be. I will share it on YouTube and on other platforms, but that's where the bulk of it will be. And then on Instagram, information on how to heal, how to embrace your divine feminine energy, how to grow, how to manifest will be there. YouTube will have a little bit of everything. We'll have actually all of everything there. So depending on, what's easier for you and how you like to follow, subscribe, like, and digest this information. Because one of the best ways, one of the easiest paths to healing, growing, and moving beyond that toxic and narcissistic relationship, whether it's one you've had from birth or just a few years, is learning to embrace and embody your divine feminine energy, because it creates a shift in you on a cellular level and an energetic level, and it allows you to see the truth for what it is and leave it in the past where it is, so that you can be present in the now and create your future. So I realized that there was some toxicity, in my family dynamic when I was growing up, between my mother and I. And as an adult, when I got older, after leaving the first narcissist, the therapist was like, your mom might have narcissistic personality disorder. But she was never diagnosed with that. It was just me explaining scenarios that I was going through. So I ran because the control was crazy. I didn't feel loved, supported, right? I'm a runner. I was a runner. I'll say that. I was a runner. I didn't know, I grew up with this. I didn't know how to deal with it. I knew it wasn't what I wanted. And when I was looking for love and compassion and support and empathy, I was not getting it. So I looked for it elsewhere. I had an amazing husband. My first husband was a really great guy. Unfortunately, he had a drug addiction. So although I wasn't getting the empathy and the love that I wanted in my relationship with my mom, I wasn't yet, even as a teenager, completely and totally impacted. And this is going to reign true throughout all three of these types of relationships that I've had, because I had a natural inclination to affirmations and self-help, right? I got into selling Mary Kay very early on when I was 18, and those things helped create different beliefs for me. The problem was that the people I loved held different beliefs for me and of me. And so I would eventually be influenced by it, and then I would go back. So that's why I say I was a runner. Unlike some women who are just in it and they stay in it, I would run and cycle in and out. I would get hoovered back, right? But they had to hoover me back because I was always running, not really knowing why, but just knowing it didn't feel good. And so I would be hoovered back. And so these terms I'll do videos on and TikTok, and I will make a playlist so you understand what like hoovering is, the flying monkeys, covert and overt narcissists, things like that, so you know the language and you can identify what you're dealing with. But I met a great guy. He didn't have a whole lot going for him, but he was good to me, and he cared for me, and he understood me, and we had a great relationship. But he had his own issues, and he had a drug addiction, and we got married. We had 2 beautiful children, and we had a great house, and I was very happy. But the drugs got him. And literally, this is the first time I've ever said this out loud, but I allowed, because I didn't know any better, right? And I didn't have a support system and guidance. I allowed his downfall, his weakness, his drug addiction to mean something about me, instead of it meant everything about him. Him being drug addicted, not coming home, doing weird and crazy things that I had no knowledge of. I was very, very naive. And so his addiction and his behavior while addicted, I allowed that to mean something about who I was and what I deserved. As a result, although I left the relationship due to the drug addiction, and he did get help and has completely changed his life and is a really great support system for me now, or is part of my support system, it was hard. And so that defined me, and in some ways it reinforced the things that my mom and my stepfather had said to me. And so although when they said it initially I didn't believe it, this situation and this relationship ending definitely made me feel like what they were saying was true. It wasn't, but I felt that, and it crushed my self-esteem, and my self-worth was in the toilet. But I was doing great things, and I could run a business, and I could make friends, and I could do other things that made people happy, made people go, oh my God, you're so amazing. You should be a part of this, and you should be a part of this, right? But on a relationship level, I didn't feel very worthy. And so it left me very vulnerable, right? And remember, narcissists are predators. So it left me very vulnerable. And I moved out of the state, and I moved to where my dad was, and I met a guy who was a narcissist. And I felt very strong and determined in all areas of my life except for relationships. So much so I remember saying, if God does not send a man through my front door, I will not have another one. That's how devastated I was from the ending of my first marriage, because I adored him. And so my stepbrother brought a man in who then began to actively pursue me, and was not somebody I was interested in, not somebody that I would date, and that is typical. But he was so persistent, and you'll hear this, and this might be part of your story, right? They are so fucking persistent, and they wear you down. So I got wore down. I got into this relationship, and it was the beginning of a nightmare. And so I'm not going to tell that relationship story, but what I'm going to tell you is that when I got out of that relationship, And once again, my self-worth in terms of relationships. And when I left him, I ended up moving in with my mom. And he and I had 5 children. I had 2 children from my first marriage. He and I had 5. So now I have 7 children. My self-esteem is in the shitter because of the stuff that happened. And I tried to get away for years, at least 2 or 3. And it was awful. It was so bad. So I remember thinking that if I do not leave, he will kill me. So I was able to leave, and I will probably share the specifics of each relationship and the types of things that went on in short videos on YouTube, because when you start bringing up this toxic situation, although I'm doing it for the purpose of information, it's hard, right? It's like it's not really a vibe that I want to create and maintain. So I will always be sharing in short spurts. So I was a sitting duck, basically, for predator number 2. We didn't get married. I didn't marry the second narcissist. We did have a child together. And it, in a lot of ways, was way worse than what I experienced with my parents, what I experienced with my first husband in a lot of ways. But because I was vulnerable, although I had picked myself up, my kids were doing great, we had therapy going, I had a great business thriving, and, getting ready to move back out on my own, I was a sitting duck for him. And I was an easy target because he didn't have to do a lot, right? He just had to be better than the last narcissist. So, later I found out it was still more than effort than what he was doing for the backup supply that he had. I was still way more work than the backup supply. But I was more of a trophy, right? I had a different look, a different background, a different expression than all of his other supplies. So it was very much worth the effort, because it's, for some of them, it is like a game. Like, can I get her? Can I break her down? Can I make her submissive? Can I make her do what I want her to do? Can I have her, in my supply? So he put in the effort. But again, I was a runner. And I'll explain that later on. So the point is, this is how I ended up in the situation. You end up in more than one narcissistic relationship if you don't get educated soon enough, because leaving a narcissist will leave you vulnerable. It will leave you questioning your self-worth and doubting, who you are and what you know about yourself. And it makes you the prime picking for the next narcissist. This is not your fault. And in the next episode, I'm going to talk about the phases and the cycle of being in a toxic and narcissistic relationship, because there is some grooming. It is a psychological thing that happens, that they all do. And again, when you're not educated, because of how our brain works, we fall for it, and you're in a low place. So it is not that if you are in a toxic relationship, if you've been abused, you've been treated bad, please know and understand that it's not your fault. There is not something about you that justifies this behavior. You were preyed upon. that person is a predator. And so no different than it is never the rapist, the person who's been raped, it's never their fault. It is always the rapist's fault. When you are in a toxic narcissistic relationship where you are being abused, it is always them. It is always them. It's always them. What you have to do is get educated so that you can identify the cycle, break the cycle, and move on. And let them be with each other, which happens. And it's possible. It's possible for me. It's possible for you. And one of the best ways to start that is with self-care, self-love, and embracing your divine feminine energy. Because that's what will change what you believe about you. And it will take you out of having a low self-esteem and being a sitting duck for the next narcissist. What happens is, whether you're in the relationship or already out of the relationship, when you start embracing your divine feminine energy and you start to love yourself and you start to respect yourself, and then you realize, like, hey, I deserve better than this, right? It changes how you respond. And usually you give the narcissist no response, which is hell for them. But you cannot just go, you could, but I don't think any therapist even recommends that you start using techniques and processes on the person that is the narcissist that you're in a toxic relationship with immediately until you are fully educated. Why? Because it's upsetting to them, right? These are proven techniques that work across the board, and if you are not prepared to leave, to protect yourself, and to do certain things, you could be putting yourself in danger. So I hope, I know that the people who need to hear this are hearing this, and that you've gotten some value from it. But this is just the beginning. Like I said, this is going to be a series. It's not going to be my main focus, because we need magic. We need manifesting. We need divine feminine energy. We need to learn to raise our vibrations so that we can live on the goddess frequency, because you are a goddess. You deserve everything that you can conceptualize, everything that you desire, you deserve. And being in these types of relationships will take you out of it. And there's so much that it can't all be said in one episode. But I want you to brace yourself. I want you to get a journal. I want you to follow me on all the platforms that are part, I guess they'll be in the description, so that you can get educated. You can start identifying if this is toxic, or if this could be toxic narcissist, how to protect yourself, how to move, and how to elevate yourself through your divine feminine energy so that you can start manifesting. Anytime I had an issue manifesting, it was because I was too deeply involved with him. My children used to say, when you get away from him, everything is wonderful. We're all happy. Money is not an issue. You have clients beating your door down. Things are happening for you. And then the minute you take him back, or you allow him to hang around, our life becomes destitute. Because they're energy vampires, right? They are empty demonic shells, and they are trying to fill themselves with what you have, which is why narcissists can't be faithful. They always have what is called backup supply, right? Everybody in a narcissist's life is supply. So if you're the main supply, there's always backup supply. You, depending on how much he values, you as the main supply, you won't know about the backup supplies. You will find out accidentally, but he'll go out of his way to make sure that you don't know about the backup supplies. But all of the backup supply know about you, right? And when you start to leave, when you start to shift, the backup supply will come out of nowhere to help him try to destroy you. Now, and I will say this, I cater to women. I specialize in working with women. I am a woman, and so my perspective is that of being in a narcissistic relationship with a man on an intimate level. So when I refer to the narcissist, I will often refer to them as he, but there are female narcissists, right? And I told you my therapist, told me that my mom might be one. My last narcissist, he was married to a narcissist who was a genuine reflection of his own mother, right? So his mother, his sister, and his ex-wife, all narcissists. But they were very overt narcissists, whereas he's a covert narcissist because he's, the dynamic of how he grew up. They are liars. They are cheaters. They are manipulators. They gaslight you. They are never, ever faithful. None of this has anything to do with your worth and value. As a matter of fact, because you are the main supply, right? He can see a lot of value in you, and he wants it. That's what draws him to you. Understand that. If you are hearing this and realize, I was the fucking backup supply, he was telling me this about his baby mom and that, blah, 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 blah. Baby mom is clueless because she's the main supply. But, he don't take you out. He's sneaking around because he really want to be with you, but he can't take you out nowhere because you're backup supply. And there's no shame in that because you're still getting abused. You're still being lied to. You are still being used, right? Because he's going to use you to make the main supply jealous. You are being just as abused. The main supply, backup supply, those are just terms to identify how you are being abused and how you are being used within the scenario. It does not lessen your value. And how he sees you and your value has nothing to do with your real value. Please remember that. So, get a journal. Get focused. All episodes that have narcissistic information and stories in them will be labeled as such. Moving forward, we will start and end these narcissistic educational episodes on LaMeel Radio as well as on YouTube with prayer to protect our energy, because we are not trying to call them back. We are educating ourselves and we are creating a new paradigm for ourselves. I love you guys deeply. And if you have questions, if this has touched your heart and you realize that you are in this situation and you are looking for support, you're looking to learn how to get out, you're in it and need to learn how to navigate it so that you can leave, feel free to reach out. You can text my support line, 571-888-5191. You can message us on my fan page on Facebook, which is LaMeel. You can DM me on Instagram. You can even send messages on TikTok. We just don't check those as often. So be safe. Remember, you are loved. You are a goddess. And I'm here to help you take your power back. I love you, and I'll see you in the next episode.
LaMeel Radio. Empowerment radio for women, by women.